Like, for example, World War One. Like, I remember my mom's grandfather. I remember him growing up, like, I seen him a few times as a kid before he died, and he had this, like, eye patch like a pirate. And I was like, oh, that's wild. And they were like, oh, yeah, the war, something, something. I'm like, okay, some old dude with a patch who gives me candies or something. I didn't pay much attention. And then I found out that the guy was the captain in this one unit of the Italian army. That's the most insane unit I've ever heard of. This group called the Arditi. The Arditi were their main weapons. They barely used guns. They had hand grenades and daggers. And their job was to just swim, usually across the river, because there was a river between the Austrian, and swim across the river, run into the enemy trenches, and then in the trenches just stab everybody. And their thing was like, yeah, we either win or we die. They took insane casualties. They had these, their tactics were not exactly designed for self-preservation. They were just balls to the wall, completely insane guys for whom World War One, that you figure, technologically and big, was fought mostly with a dagger. So that's a really up close and personal. And then I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, that was, my mom's grandfather was doing this crazy shit. Wow. Why didn't they tell me the story in that fashion? Again, I would have paid more attention. Or even, my grandma. I remember my mom's mom. She, when I grew up, she was this kind of cranky lady, sweet to me, but fairly, always had that depressed vibe about her. And I was always like, what's her problem? Because it's your sweet old grandma, but she's, this tiny little thing and you don't think much about it. And then I started finding out all these stories where, like, during World War II, she was part of the resistance. And one day they caught her boyfriend. And, the fascists chopped him up into pieces and delivered him into a luggage in front of her house. And she just went really hardcore. And from that point on, she just made it a mission to just bomb the living fuck out of them. And so she spent some of her teenage years carrying bombs and planting them and blowing up fascists and Nazis. And that was her life. And I was like, no wonder she's a little depressed. No wonder she's got some issues. It's like, even because, unlike the typical war experience where war is out there, it's like there's a battlefield out there. A soldier goes away from home to the battlefield. War for her was right outside of her house. Was urban fighting in the street. You're keeping this cover that you're whatever, some teenage girl, and then you go out and do all these actions with the people with you. And so, everywhere she went in Milan, where I grew up, there were memories to that. Like, I remember taking me to play basketball as a kid at this one place. And then later I read that exact arena was where a bunch of her friends had been captured and executed. And I was like, Jesus. So this poor lady, every time she took her grandson playing basketball and is watching him playing with some other 10-year-olds, she's probably reliving that shit. She's probably seeing her friends lined up against the wall, getting shot right over that wall over there. Not some distant, no, right there. Like, the visuals are all around you, everywhere you go all the time. And like, that's some heavy PTSD, because it's not that you're ever away from it. It's under your eyes all your life. And so I was like, okay, that changes my vision both of her as a person and just, I don't know, history. It makes it a lot more real, you know what I mean? It makes it a lot more grounded.